Hey y'all, it's me, Dr. Lynn Daniel, PhD, EDS. I'm the self-care evangelist, and I just got back from my worldwide, global, globe-trotting, international trip to Amman, Jordan, Wadi Musa, Jordan, and Dubai, United Arab Emirates. That's why I've been gone for a while. And I'm back, and I'm here to tell you all, like, what was the whole point of this. So, you all know I talk about self care, right? And I encourage people to prioritize their personal and professional self care. I do that through the Word of God and through social science because I am a Bible believing Christian and I'm a social scientist, an educator, educational researcher, and that. So, that's my life experience. That is my professional experience. And, you know, I meld them to teach people what self care looks like. And it's not an easy thing because, self care is so minimalized or minimized or reduced to expensive things that we do externally to make us feel rewarded or valued. And those things are a part of what the self care plan looks like, but they're not the whole. The whole of self care, from how I teach it, is we are stewards of our lives. God gave us this life. And remember, I'm coming to you from a Judeo Christian, biblically based belief system, right? So I believe that God has given us this life and we are stewards. A steward is a manager, someone who is put in something of value. They are put in charge of managing valuable things, properties, entities, right? Individuals. And so we have to learn what that looks like. And so on my trip, my recent trip to Amman, Jordan, Wadi Musa, Jordan, and then Dubai, I was going to do like a cultural exchange, if you will, to get my feet on the ground in the communities, visiting the cultural sites, the religious sites, listening to people who live there and to learn more about, okay, what does it look like if I'm going to present self-care in this context? Like, what would the self-care message look like? And even if the messaging is not necessarily directed specifically for the citizens there, even though it could be, because it could apply to the schools there, it could apply to the teachers there, right? The messaging of self care, but there's so much that goes into understanding the cultural components of self care and hygiene practices and rest, mental hygiene, emotional hygiene, physical hygiene, relational hygiene, spiritual hygiene, all of these categories that look at cleanliness. And in what I'm learning, what I learned on this journey to understand the culture, I learned that, the Muslims, they have um, like a routine, if you will, or a process around prayer. And I think it's called ablution. Let me hold on. I'm going to look it up. I think it's called ablution. I was saying ablution. So, ablution is the process of cleanliness and hygiene that the Muslims partake in before prayer. So it's a form of consecration and cleanliness, before they present themselves, in that practice. And so these are things that I learned on the trip. I listen. I was in Amman for what, 4 days and nights, and I was in Dubai for I think 6 days and nights or something like that. I was in Amman for actually I think 5 days or nights, and what what I am noticing, what I discovered and came to understand on this particular excursion is that the self-care messaging definitely needs to consider the culture and the cultural practices. Because, I mean, when you're teaching people, you want them to utilize the information. I'm going to wipe off this camera. Give me a second. You want your participants to utilize the information. I want my participants in my course, in my experience that I plan and develop, I want my participants to come away from the experience with a newness, a new, refreshed understanding of self care and the practicality of self care. On the way home, the flight from Amman to Chicago, um, before I came all the way back to Phoenix, we stopped in Chicago for a layover. Thus, you see the shirt. um, on that flight, um, the hygiene of some of the people on that flight was terrible. Now, when I say the hygiene, I'm talking about body odor, and I'm talking about people. When I talked to them and we were engaged in a conversation, it was clearly stated that they are Americans, that they live in the United States, that they attend, their daily routine is in United States institutions. So, for some reason, the hygiene practices were very lacking, and you can imagine that's as discomfort and uncomfortable when you're on a 13, 14-hour flight and people around you have such a stench, um, and so these are real life issues. Another thing, so that's the hygiene aspect of self-care. Like, we should be clean. Cleanliness is the old saying is cleanliness is next to godliness, but cleanliness really is a reflection of godliness, because odors, when you stink and smell, that's bacteria, that is decaying bacteria on your body, which is giving off a stench. And then bacteria, if it you're breathing that in, I can only imagine if it's airborne, it's getting in your nostrils. So when I got home, I cleaned my nostrils out. You know, that's a part of my hygiene. That's a part of my self care. I knew what I needed to do when I was on the plane. I did what I needed to do to keep myself. I had on my mask, and I had other things that I used to clean my nose. So this is, what I'm talking about when I talk about self-care, you all. I think Americans, we take a lot of our practices for granted. We have water, we have quick and easy access to water, which means we can bathe multiple times a day if necessary. We have easy access to soap, generally speaking, and cleanliness products, which makes it very easy for us to bathe our bodies and be clean, to brush our teeth, to shampoo our hair, to keep our nails clean, all of the basic fundamentals of hygiene and self-care. But the psychological self-care, the social emotional component of self-care is as important, and it can be our social emotional wellness can be reflected in our self-care practices. Like socially and emotionally, if we are struggling, if we are having challenges, if we are having emotional duress, anxiety, and all these things, then those things take priority over, they take up your space in your mind, they take up space in your executive functioning abilities, they take up priority over the other things to do for self care, right? And so, if we don't have structured plans to support us, then what do? We just go back into old habits. We just kind of fall on the wayside. This is what my experiences share and reinforce and help you. And yes, it seems like, well, these are grown women who, they already know this stuff. They already know to bathe. They already know to do these things, Lynn. Like, why do you need to teach a course on self care? Well, I don't need to. I choose to, because we're taking our experience, we're taking our life to the highest level of competency, capacity for a good existence. Like, we are leveling up, as the young people say. And in doing that, we are gaining a new awareness of what is necessary to be treated well and to treat ourselves well. One thing I recognize on the trip in Amman, Jordan, the amenities, the facilities, the hotel was a five-star hotel. They treated me like royalty. They would not even allow me to carry my own handbag, which, like, when they ask you, when they help you out the car and they're there and they ask you for your bag, you give them your bag because that's their job. And then you tip, of course you tip. But the treatment was just top notch. And so the experience of the 90 days of grace, the course, the experience is to help set our minds around the highest level of care, and that self-love, and how it looks and feel to be treated well, with respect, and with, like, reverence, or esteemed, you know, esteemed. And yeah, it was beautiful. Like, I had a driver who drove me everywhere, you know, took me on the city tours, told me all the history, took me to the eating spots, took me hundreds of miles away to visit, and just really attentive. And so I would love to invite 3 to 5 of you to join me in the next experience, the spring experience, because as a part of that experience, I would like for us to travel to the Middle East together, to travel to Amman, to travel to Dubai, to travel to Doha, Qatar. Qatar. My daughter said, "Mom, it's Qatar, Qatar." Um, yeah, 2 weeks, 2 weeks of travel. And so, those of you who sign up for the spring 90 days of grace that starts in March, you will have the opportunity. Those people who complete the course, those people who do the assignments, you will have the opportunity to join us on this trip. You'll get all the details. See it as like a culminating activity. It's where you're going to take everything you learned in the course and apply it in a new surroundings, a new experience, to just really set your mind in a new way. Your self perception, your expectations for yourself are going to be elevated. And you'll be able to see, like, from these new enriching engagements, cultural experiences, your awareness of what you deserve, like the goodness that comes through self-care. Like, it's a boomerang effect. You start pouring into yourself, you're going to radiate. Just, you're going to sit up taller. You're going to smile. You will radiate from your eyes and from your skin as you start caring for yourself more. Now, right now, I look tired because I've been traveling, so I'm resting, and I know I look tired. I don't feel as tired as I look, you know, but plus, y'all, I'm 63 years old, so okay, so I can look old if, but no, for real. The experience in the spring course is going to level you up in ways that you've just not even known that were possible or necessary. And we are going together. Those of you, I want 3 to 5 participants who are ready to walk into the fullness of the experience to join me on that excursion. It will be in the winter of 2025. And so, there you have it. Self care looks different in various cultures, but the bottom foundational point or messaging of self care is, when you do self care, when you attend to your basic needs and you start to nurture yourself, you are going to radiate just a glow of beauty and self confidence and a richness that maybe you've not done that before. Maybe you've not noticed it at this level, because what you learn in the course is going to begin to show you the little minute details that reflect self-care and wellness. I'll give you an example. So, one thing I tell my students in the course is, I want you to do an inventory of your lingerie, your bathing towels and washcloths, all of your bathing needs that you use for your bathing routines and rituals. Look at the quality of your towels. Are they clean? Are they fresh and fluffy? Are they Do they smell good? Are they like thirsty towels where they absorb the water, or are they dingy, holes in them, frayed and torn? Are they or do you care for them? Do you clean them well in a way that maintains their elegance? Because these things will be reflected in you, in your psyche, in your presence, and other people will begin to notice it in you, and they will treat you accordingly. They will treat you accordingly. Your underwear, your lingerie should be clean, crisp, free of holes. As soon as they get a hole, throw them out. If you can't mend them, you can mend them if you would like to do that. But if you can't mend them, replace them. They don't have to be the most expensive. They just need to be fresh and shiny and white and clean looking if you wear white underwear. All right, so are you all hearing what I'm saying? Some of this stuff seems basic, but you're going to see it because listen, what I discovered for myself on this trip is I have got to level up my luggage. It is time out for me having piecemeal luggage and then getting to the airport lugging around that big old coach bag that I have. No, Lynn, no. So for this year, I picked out two pieces of luggage with the 360 wheels, with the chargeable um, port for my phone, for with the slot for my laptop and my other devices. And so I have them in the cart, and then I am going to budget out to get those within the next 6 months, 3 to 6 months. Cause listen, I've been abroad. I've been on my most recent two trips abroad. It was just too, the luggage aspect for me was too burdensome and sloppy and messy, and it doesn't even reflect well. It doesn't support the graceful elegance and self-care that God wants me to arrive at. And so, yeah, like that's a minor thing. It's a minor thing, but it's not a minor thing because when you are walking in airports, some of these airports are huge. Some of them have trains and trolleys and trams, okay, but some of them don't. And so the luggage needs to reflect the elegance, the level of elegance. Your attire at the airport needs to be a monochromatic, easy to like navigate and wear and comfort, but elegant, right? It needs to have that elegance to it. And so, y'all, I'm just giving you all a little, I'm giving you some breadcrumbs here, if you will. But these are all important. These are all important. Those of you who are going to join me. Okay. So just keep a lookout. I will be sharing the information because our winter course will be ending soon at the end of this month, and so then we'll do a hiatus for a few weeks so I can read over things and like close out the course and then move into the new course. See if I need to make any adjustments to any of the instructional materials, the experiences, and you all. Yeah, this is life changing. This is changing, life changing for a good way, especially those of us who are baby boomers or millennials. Gen Zs, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s even. If you're I will say this and I'm going to end. If you're wanting to travel internationally, I think now that you know this is something that is a possibility for December of this year, I would seriously look at my weight, because those flights, unless you're in first class, it's limited leg room, and then you've got, if you have a carry-on under the seat in front of you, and then if you have a jacket, a coat, a blanket, a pillow, if you're taking up all the space, you're going to be very uncomfortable. And I know this is a sensitive topic, talking to people about weight and size, and this is not body shaming and this is not bullying. But, I'm just going to say it, like, for me, I have to manage this aspect of my life. And flying on those planes for extended periods of time, and you're taking up the majority of the space, is going to be very uncomfortable. And I would encourage anyone who knows they're going to be traveling internationally in the next 11 months to, you can lose a pound a month up to that time, 2 pounds a month. And that will make a big difference in aiding your mobility, agility, your perseverance, right? Like your endurance. It will give you some comfort in the seat. You'll be able to walk the long routes in the airport. You'll be able to manage yourself a lot better. You'll be able to engage in some activities that maybe you would have been restricted from. And so, you know what? Like, I'm putting it out there. If that's something that you can work on, like for the year, 2 pounds a month. By the end of the year, you'll be down 24 pounds, and you'll have more endurance to walk and do all the other activities that are required when you travel. Okay? All right. So, all right, y'all. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you all. Leave your comments and message me if you don't want to leave a comment. Just message me, DM me. All right. Be blessed.